Nicole Kidman shows up after her split from Keith Urban. Nicole Kidman was seen in public for the first time since she and Keith Urban broke up. They were together for a long time. They went through many hard times together. Now, it was time to move on. For many weeks, Keith Urban didn't talk to anyone. He gave no interviews. He made no statements. He was just quiet after his 19-year marriage ended. But when he finally went back on stage to sing, things changed. In the middle of a song he had sung for years, he changed one word. The whole room could feel it. He wasn't angry, but you could tell he was tired and honest. Fans watched the moment over and over. They talked about what it meant. Who was he singing to? Was this just a sad breakup happening in real time? Or was Keith finally using his music to say what he wouldn't say in words? Tonight, we're going to explain what really changed. We'll talk about the words he changed, the love songs he stopped singing, and how a singer's voice can tell the truth better than any newspaper. We'll stick to real facts. We'll show what fans saw and keep feelings separate from guessing. Then you can decide what the music is really saying. If you like stories like this, please hit the like button. Subscribe and turn on the bell. Leave a comment with your thoughts. Did the songs show us anything new? Or are we just hearing what we want to hear? What you think helps us decide what to talk about next. What happened with the divorce? The news came out in late September 2025. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban separated after 19 years of marriage. They filed papers in Tennessee. The papers said they had irreconcilable differences. That's just a fancy way of saying they couldn't work things out. But behind those simple words was nearly 20 years of shared dreams, hard work, and quiet struggles that most people never saw. Nicole and Keith had already been living in different places before they made it official. Friends who knew them said it had been coming for a long time. The distance between them had grown slowly, long before anyone else knew. When Keith moved out and got his own place, that was a big turning point. After that, it was only a matter of time before their fairy tale ended. Nicole handled the split the way everyone expected. She was calm and quiet. She didn't post emotional messages online or talk to reporters. Instead, she focused on her two daughters, Sunday Rose and Faith Margaret. She wanted to protect them and keep their lives as normal as possible. When people saw her in public, she was smiling but careful. She held her daughter's hands. Friends said she didn't want the divorce, but she knew it was time. Her quiet strength made people feel sorry for her. She looked strong even though she was hurting. Keith chose to be quiet too, but his silence was different. For weeks, he disappeared. He said nothing about the divorce. No press statements, no interviews, no social media posts. But people who knew him knew he couldn't stay silent forever. That's because Keith Urban always shows his emotions through music. He doesn't just talk about his feelings, he sings them. When he finally came back to the stage, it was clear. The music would say everything he couldn't say with words. The changed lyrics, the missing songs, the sound of his voice, it was all there, hidden in the songs. Because sometimes when words don't work, music becomes the way to tell the truth. Keith's emotional breakdown and recovery. After the divorce was announced, Keith Urban went into a quiet, lonely place. The man who had performed for thousands of fans every night was now alone in his Nashville studio. He was surrounded by silence that no guitar could fill. Friends said he was dealing with everything the only way he knew how, through music. People who saw him during those early weeks said he looked thinner and quieter than usual. He often stayed up very late at night, playing guitar and writing songs that he never shared with anyone. This wasn't the first time Keith had faced hard times. Long before he met Nicole, his life had been difficult. He was born in New Zealand and grew up in Australia. He found his passion in country music, but he also found his biggest weakness. By his 20s, he was famous. But fame brought problems. He talked openly in old interviews about how alcohol and addiction hurt his early career. He said he was always running from the noise in his own head. Then Nicole came into his life. When they got married in 2006, Keith was at a crossroads. Just a few months after their wedding, he went to rehab for alcohol abuse. Later, he said Nicole's love saved him. "She saved my life," he said, his voice breaking as he remembered how she supported him. Nicole stayed with him when it would have been easier to leave. She helped him get better and find balance. For nearly 20 years, she was his anchor. She was the calm to his storm, the structure to his restless heart. Even strong anchors can slip. When Nicole finally walked away, Keith had to face the same problems he thought he'd left behind. Friends said he was struggling and leaning on his close friends, his bandmates, tour team, and a few trusted people who had seen him through hard times before. But this time, the fight wasn't just about staying sober. It was about finding out who he was without the woman who had once held him together. Night after night, he went back to his studio. It was the one place where he could control things. The space that used to be filled with laughter and family visits now only had the sound of guitar strings. It was in that lonely place that his change began. The songs that started as heartbreak slowly became something else: thoughts, confessions, and questions without easy answers. People close to him said he poured himself into his work. He wrote all the time, sometimes recording the same song for hours. What came out wasn't polished or perfect. It was raw and painfully honest. Each lyric felt like a page from a diary he never meant to share. Friends said this time marked a creative rebirth, even though it was heavy with loss. Keith Urban had built his career on songs about bouncing back and being strong. Now he was living those songs again. But this time, the redemption wasn't about saving his marriage. It was about saving himself. She once saved him from his demons, but when she walked away, those demons came back. And this time, Keith didn't hide. He picked up his guitar, faced them head-on, and turned all his pain into music. Those songs would soon show more than words ever could. The lyrics that said more than words. When Keith Urban finally went back on stage, nobody knew what to expect. Would he ignore the headlines and just play music like nothing happened? Or would the music itself show the feelings he'd been hiding? Fans got their answer fast. Not through an announcement, but through one single word that hit harder than any statement could. It happened during a performance of one of his most famous songs, "You'll Think of Me." For years, it had been a sad song about heartbreak and moving on. But that night, just days after the divorce news broke, Keith made a small but powerful change. Instead of singing, "Take your space and take your reasons," he paused. Then he sang a new line, "Take your unreasonable reasons." In another concert, he went even further. He sang, "Take your stupid reasons." That one word, unreasonable, hit fans like a confession. It wasn't rage. It was heartbreak wrapped in sadness. The word felt too specific to be random. Within hours, social media exploded. One fan on Twitter wrote, "That wasn't just a lyric change. That was Keith finally saying what he couldn't put in a statement." Another person commented on YouTube, "He's hurting. You can feel it in his voice. That lyric wasn't random." The video spread across fan pages and gossip sites. Everyone replayed the same moment, slowing it down, trying to find hidden meaning. The media noticed too. They called it a striking lyrical change that fans connected to his divorce. For people who had followed his career for years, this wasn't bitterness. It was a man processing loss in real time, using the only language he truly knew, music. But that wasn't the only song that got attention. Fans realized Keith had quietly removed "The Fighter" from his concert playlist. The song, released in 2016, had been known as a love letter to Nicole. It was a duet celebrating the strength of their marriage after years of struggle. Nicole even appeared in the music video. But after the divorce news broke, "The Fighter" disappeared. In its place, Keith started performing older, sadder songs about longing and regret. When fans asked why he dropped the duet, he gave no explanation. He didn't need to. The silence said enough. Then something surprising happened. "The Fighter" came back weeks later, but with a twist. Keith changed the lyric to reference his guitarist Maggie instead of Nicole. Fans laughed at first, but others saw something deeper. One Twitter user said, "He didn't just change a lyric, he changed the meaning. He's taking back his song." It wasn't just what Keith sang, it was what he stopped singing. Fans noticed he had quietly removed several love songs tied to Nicole. Those songs had once been favorites at his shows. Their sudden absence spoke volumes. To his audience, it felt like quietly erasing the past, like removing framed photos from a wall that used to feel like home. Country music has always been about storytelling. For Keith, it became survival. Every lyric change, every missing song, every pause between words seemed to show his emotional recovery. He wasn't lashing out or looking for sympathy. He was taking back control of his story, reshaping it through music instead of interviews. One fan wrote, "This isn't the Keith we've known for years. This is the real one, the 1W. Ho bleeds through his songs." Another added, "You can hear it in the way he plays now. It's not about perfection, it's about feeling."